now been reported that this attack has been reported in another US base in Saudi Arabia, and the Prince Sultan Air Base has now been targeted on part of Iran. Patikrit, when we take a look at these Gulf countries that host these US military bases, or even when it comes to embassies and consulates, why haven't these Gulf countries retaliated against Iran?
Well, a direct retaliation would create even more counter strikes from Iran. And let's understand, most of these Arab states have not been in conflict for a long period of time. So their ability to sustain long-term conflicts is very, very low. Secondly, then it would be almost like they have directly entered into a conflict against Iran, and in that case they're not very sure how much their own population will be supporting that, because in many of these monarchies the local populace is extremely against any operation where these Arab states are taking side with Americans against the Iranians. Third is that there's a severe shortage of missiles. That is a very big issue, not just the air defense systems missiles, but also your ability to hit Iran. Iran has a considerable number of, number one, the loitering munitions, and maybe ballistic missiles, which they have the capacity to produce. I don't know how much they are still left with, but the Arabs have always been under the security umbrella of Arab states have been under the security umbrella of America, and they presume that it is the Americans who will protect them. For them to sustain long-term conflict or to get into this kind of a scenario and to live in this kind of a situation, they are not ready for this. They were not ready for it at all. And I think that is where the Iranians are telling the Arabs that the only way you can stop these attacks is by asking the Americans to exit their bases. Right. So it's a very, very catch-22 situations for the Arabs. Not that the Arabs were unhappy when the sanctions were on Iran, not that they were unhappy when Iran was being hit, but they never expected that in return they would be hit, because the Iranians presume that the Arabs have been hand in glove. Every missile which goes into Iran goes through the Arabian airspace, and they are the ones who have the American bases. So retaliation will ensure that there are bigger strikes which they don't want to directly get into. They don't want to be clubbed with Israel in the same conflict against Iran. That would have a major problem within their own societies.
But as far as this assurance came in from Pezeshkian saying that U.S. bases will only be hit, but, in a way issuing an apology, that doesn't seem to be holding much of any, as far as value or weight is now concerned, because the targets still continue.
Because most of the strikes, counter-strikes and retaliations are being done by IRGC, which has never reported to the president of Iran. IRGC has been a parallel organization which has always reported to the supreme commander of Iran, which was Ali Khamenei. So Pezeshkian saying something does not hold much ground, and that was again rebutted by Ali Larjani, who is the security head of Iran, saying that the attacks will continue. So there are power struggles also within Iran.
All right. Patikrit, I request you to stay on with us, because it seems that when it comes to UAE,